about a month prior to that, I had a real come to Jesus moment, quite literally, where I just, broke down in my room on the floor after I read the book of John and just saw myself in Barabbas and the people that put Jesus on the cross, and was like, oh man, I've just not been living right,
So hello everyone. Hey, you probably saw we recently released a video, kind of an interview of myself with my other two children, Gage and Emerson. Hopefully you've seen that by now. If you haven't, please go take a look at that and check that out. The idea here is to give you guys a little peek behind the scenes of what my life is. This is unfiltered, unedited, not prepared for, as Rafe knows.
Not at all.
Rafe came in here today and was like, okay, what are you going to ask me? And that's what I want to be. I want to just be natural. So as I explained, I want you guys to see the rest of my life. I get asked 1,000 questions about my work, but I want you to see the rest of my life. And part of the rest of my life is my son, Rafe. This is my oldest son. Gage is second, who was in that other interview, and Emerson is the baby. And so we're going to pick up there. And Rafe thought he was going to get out of this because he wasn't here. He was back in Virginia.
Yeah.
And he came back out here for a couple months before he moves to Austin, Texas. And I was like, okay, well, now you're in trouble because I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you don't know what to expect. Mm-hmm. So first, introduce yourself. How old are you? Where'd you go to school at? Tell anybody who might watch this. A lot of them might already know you.
Yeah.
But for whoever doesn't, tell them a little bit about
yourself.
Sure.
All right, well, my name's Rafe Ramos. I'm the oldest son. I'm 23 years old. I've been attending Liberty University in Virginia for the last 4 or so years. A little bit muddy in the water, but yeah, I made it out. Graduated with a degree in global studies and a minor in psychology. Primarily what that means is that, it's a study of like cultural anthropology a little bit and then some Bible in there so that you can explain the gospel to anybody. So I really enjoyed that. It took me a second to find a major that I could really sit in, but I have a lot of passion for God and I have a lot of passion for people. So I kind of found my niche there right at the end.
Yeah.
What's next? Not sure. Would love to, work with some missions agencies eventually, but right now it's kind of, time to get in the mud, right? So moving to Austin is the next play. Got some good buddies down there that are really working hard, and I'm trying to feed on that energy. So,
and I'm going to ask you some other questions about education, but one of the things that I've told you that I think that anybody watching this should know is, I've told you how proud I am of you for finishing a bachelor's degree, for finishing your education. Yeah. Because I think of my dad. My dad is the youngest of 12, and I don't believe any of them went to college, not that I know of. And I'm the oldest of 8, and I think 2 of us completed 4-year degrees, I think, of us 8. So to have my oldest set the standard for his brother and sister to complete school, I'm pretty proud of. So
thanks. Yeah,
I've told you that. Now, so explain to them, and maybe even explain to me again, when you went to Liberty and you ended up in the degree field you ended up in, how did that work out and why?
Well, for the longest time, I was just switching around different degrees, and you're well aware of that. I was probably switch degrees twice a year, It started with history. At some point, it was political science, psychology, just different fields of interest that I knew I was intrigued by and wasn't sure if I wanted to make a career out of. I was professionally overthinking.
Was it just particular classes that would get you changing?
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, it was. I knew my areas of interest prior. I'm a huge history buff, and you're well aware of that. I'll get talking about that all day. And at the time, cared a lot more about politics, and was seeing like if I could leverage any of those things into, a career or something I can really work on. And every time I just overthought it, right? So I'm like, well, I love history, but I don't want to be a history teacher. I don't want to be a professor. I guess it could work for law school, but like how well? Right. I went into psychology and wasn't the most impressed with the psychology community. Nothing against psychologists and stuff. I love that, they do good work, but it was like, for me, psychology should be something where, somebody who I look up to and respect is giving me advice about my life. And I saw I was like, I don't know if that's me yet,
Wasn't the right fit.
No, not the right fit. And I was also pretty lost personally at the time, I didn't know myself that well, right? Just got into college, just trying to figure out, like, who am I? Where's my place in this world, right? So when I finally figured out the global studies thing, about a month prior to that, I had a real come to Jesus moment, quite literally, where I just, broke down in my room on the floor after I read the book of John and just saw myself in Barabbas and the people that put Jesus on the cross, and was like, oh man, I've just not been living right, Wow. And so, after I woke up and that next morning really tasted the freedom of living in Christ and knowing that I'm forgiven and knowing that, like, the outcome is decided, I figured that was, like, the most pure passion to chase after.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so I emailed a couple mentors, emailed Kesed, who's, probably the most impactful professor I got to learn under.
What was her name again? I know I met her out there.
Yeah, Kesed Fitzsimons. Yeah, she's a wonderful woman. And so I emailed her and I was like, hey, like, I don't know what's going on. I think I was a business major at the time too, And so went in, had a meeting with her and just talked through all the options really, and thought global studies would be a great fit. Huh? Yeah, it's now global and intercultural engagement, which I think is a way better name. Honestly, it's a way better description of what it actually is. But
I want to talk to you about the Christian aspect of your journey in just one second, but I'm gonna just step off because you said something that proves to me the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. So for, I think it was this last Christmas or the Christmas before, what my family got me, one of the things they got me were the Time Life magazine series. If you remember right, they used to come out in the brown books, and they'd be like all the famous Indian chiefs and all the famous cowboys. And you probably remember that because I love history as well. And I'm always, I as a kid, I would pick those books up and be fascinated. There's one I think on railroads and one on the American West. And I just really, really love those. And so it's kind of funny that you'd find a passion for history because it's one of my hidden passions. Yeah. Of course, it's not part of what I do, but it's one of my hidden passions that I do. Absolutely. In my free time sometimes at home. So let's talk a little bit about the Christian journey. I don't remember if I got into this with your brother and sister or not, but so you went to a Christian high school. Yeah. Your entire time. But it sounds like in college, actually kind of had this moment of realization. Yeah. So tell me about Christian high school a little bit and how that impacted you positively, negatively, whatever. Again, this is all for the truth. I'm sure you probably say things that I don't even know. But, absolutely, but tell me a little bit about your, we sent you to Faith Christian Academy. Yeah. And so how'd that play into all this other stuff, or did it not at all? No, I would say it did play heavily into it. I was, I'm going to stop saying because obviously. But I didn't appreciate going to Christian high school when I was there, and there was issues with the school at the time, but, you kind of make anything of it what you will, right? So there's an accountability there that I was totally pushing off the entire time I was there. And that frankly followed me into the early parts of college as well. I loved the small community. Like, I didn't realize how blessed I was until I got out of the small pond and into the big one, right? I grew up with a lot of my best friends from K through 12. Right, right. And that was awesome. I think that really helped cultivate my love for people because there was nobody in that school that I didn't know something about, right? So even the oddballs and even the kind of outsiders, I found something to appreciate in. And that's just because of, how close we were proximity-wise. Eventually, you get to know everybody. Right. So that was great. The school taught the school was getting old at the time that we were there, or that I was going through there. And the teachers were tired. And so, the whole gospel orientation of the school, I think, was just slowed down, and that tends to happen. Burnout happens. You mean without the passion? Is that what you mean by yeah. Like I ran into significantly more passion going to Liberty University, and that was very striking for me. Initially, it was kind of like, whoa, like I was a little put off by it because all of a sudden people are asking me like, how's your walk with God going? How's like your prayer life and stuff? And, are you going to small groups? Are you involved? Are you volunteering your time, right? This is what Christians do. They love people and they live selflessly or try to. And I didn't run into a ton of that at Faith Christian, just a lot of, we got Bible teaching, we got verses, but
rarely were there individuals that were challenging you, you know. So I lived a very comfortable nominal faith early on.
Good way to describe it.
Yeah, and you know, because of that, I was making decisions that were not honoring God, and frankly was like, yeah, well, that's fine because Jesus forgives me, right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, you know. But there's a lot more to that.
Absolutely.
So I came out of my school, you know, very much, I would say, unaffected by the message of Christ. And then when I got to Liberty, challenged by it, ran from it a little bit, and then, you know, God finds a way, right? So after a couple seasons of humbling, I was on my face, and I was like, all right, you know, what do you want? What do you want?
That's cool. All right, let's shift gears and let's talk about the kind of shift gears. Let's talk about education specifically. So, you know, obviously your mom and I both finished college.
Yeah.
And I've been around you guys, all of you guys, when people have said, oh, what are you going to be? Are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a lawyer? All this other stuff. How's it been growing up in our family? Have you felt pressures related to what I've done or what your mom's done?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like how?
Well, first of all, honoring your hard work, because as you were telling you know, the people earlier, your dad comes from a big family, and then you come from a big family, right? So when I was younger, I really idolized the family, you know, and just couldn't see any wrong with it. I was like, I have the coolest family in the world, right?
Right.
And then the older you get, the more the guys kind of starts to break down, right?
Yes.
And you see habits and chains that you can see have clearly always impacted the Ramos clan.
Right.
And then being your son, it's like there's like this whole lot of pressure because you know, my dad's such an exceptional person. I don't know if you know that, but so there was pressure there. But really, I think for me, the biggest pressure was like, man, I've been given such a blessing, right? And for me, school wasn't easy. Like it could have been. But I was constantly just overthinking and underworking and, you know, just always in my head. Thankfully, started coming out of that in the last couple of years. But I would say the pressure was to honor the gift that God gave me, putting me under you as your son, right? Like, what a shame it would be for me to not finish school and not, you know, live up to some level of standard of potential, right? Where you've been the breakout for our family in many respects. And most Ramoses have never had the opportunity to pursue advanced schooling and advanced education and do all of that. And so for me, that was probably one of the bigger pressures is just what am I going to do with being part of the first breakout? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, did I know the answer to this, but I don't know if everyone else knows the answer to this. So the question was going to be, but I'm just going to answer it.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you how you feel about it. So we never pressured our kids to do anything particular other than to be faithful, good people, contributing to society. We've always wanted you guys to finish college because we feel that it's a blessing to be able to do so. We believe that it does honor your family when you do that, whether you use it or not. Yeah. And we also feel like there's plenty of time to live as an adult, and growing up too fast, we don't feel as necessarily necessary or important. Enjoy the fullness of life, and we've always tried to institute that into you guys. Yeah. Do you wish that we had pushed you more in a particular direction?
No.
Okay, then a question that plays off of that, because one area I did press you, I think you would agree with, was always you working hard is not an option. No, you have to work hard. Yeah. But you said you struggled with work ethic, and kind of performing at your fullest with work. Why is that coming from me, who always on the work? Well,
it's funny. I do have a pretty incredible work ethic when I have something to work on, right? But it's for me what kind of pushed me into that, what I would call laziness, honestly, is that I always wanted to create something for myself. Like I've always been, what's my thing gonna be, right? Like I know I'm gonna be successful at some point in life, But I've just, I've been working on like, how do I find that passion? Where can I put all this energy and actually invest on my thing? And, being a chronic overthinker and a perfectionist really doesn't help with that. So it's like I was always just thinking of ideas and never executing on anything. And so when I actually do, like if I'm actively working, physical labor jobs are kind of an easy example, but I crush that. Like I don't stop moving. I work how you taught me to, right? I pick something up every direction I'm going, and I'm always doing something. Right. So the work ethic is there. It's just where do I put this energy? Now,
do you think that there is a because I think I saw this in you sometimes, whether you saw it or not. Do you think there's a pressure nowadays to kind of a get rich quick kind of a thing? Like, for example, I'll give you a couple of examples. There was at one point that I think you wanted to be an influencer.
Yeah.
Because I think you saw these influencers doing this stuff. Yeah. And there was another point where you borrowed money because you wanted to put money into...
NFTs.
NFTs or something. And is there a pressure that you guys feel on I don't know, get success, or if you consider, I guess, rich success, it's not, I hope you know that, but is there some pressure there? And if so, where's that come from and why? I mean, did it come from us?
I think a lot of the pressure for me is self-imposed. And I know also that I have more access and more opportunity than a lot of people do because of you. And so it's always been, in my opinion, what I think is what would my dad be doing at my age if he grew up under himself? If he had this level of opportunity at my time, how would he have leveraged that? Because you did so much to leverage when you had nothing. And so I'd say that's part of the pressure. Another part of the pressure I would say comes from social media. We see a lot of kids our age that are already just killing it, right? And driving like crazy cars and doing this stuff. And like you said, that's not the fullness of life, but that does enable time freedom. And that's like what I'm fighting for at the end of the day, is being able to buy my time back so that I can do the will of God and support my family and be present as much as I can in this life. Obviously, there's a lot of grind before you can get to that place. And we've seen like a lot of artificial success.
Right.
And so it's hard to sometimes manage both of those things, knowing that I have you to help me and to back my play if it's a good one and we talk about it and it works. And also seeing kids that are my age that didn't necessarily have that start and are doing well. And it's like, shoot, man, like you feel this like urge to get there. And I don't think it's a fair one. And I think, also social media gives you so much access to so many people that you're seeing, like a 1% of 1% success rate. I mean, I can name 15 of those types of people, and there's, millions of people working to be those guys. So it's...
Right. And the thing I've always thought is, I'm not a big social media guy. Don't use it a lot, as you know. But what I notice is that when I do watch social media, or when you guys show me something, nobody ever puts up their worst day. Everybody puts up the day they wake up and they don't feel like working and they feel down in the dumps, the day they made a bad stock decision or a bad work decision, or the day they said something stupid to a coworker or to their wife and they regret it. Nobody ever puts that up there, right? And it just seems like I can see what you mean by that pressure. It seems like it's always the best day. You're always like seeing the best day of everyone. Yeah, and they've all got something to say too, It's like everybody that has made anything of themselves is like, the grind doesn't stop, like work until you can't work anymore, until your ears are bleeding. Like, it's like, and that's not like realistic either. You watch a 1-minute clip of them talking about it, but they do get tired. Everybody gets tired. Nobody's invincible, right? So you also see that kind of like David Goggins pressure going on of like, well, I'm not working hard enough, right? Everybody else can work till the sun's out and I'm out here dying, Yeah.
But
Okay. Okay. Shifting gears once again. So, what is we're going to go into a negative now.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. And remember, transparency. It's all fair game.
Okay.
Nothing. Do not make any protected answers here. What is the what is the worst thing about growing up in this family?
Oh, shoot. You know, I'm going to have to think about that for a second because
my next question is going to be, what's the best thing after this? So what's the worst thing though first? What's, what is the worst thing about, our family and growing up in? What do you think?
I would say, I don't think I have a worst thing, but I do have an issue that I've noticed as a theme, and across outside of our nuclear family, our entire family, is we have a ton of pride, and that was before there was any deserved level of pride. Frankly, like Ramos we literally call it Ramos pride. We've talked about this.
Yeah, generations.
Yeah, generations of just like we're the meanest, we're the hardest working. Like doesn't matter what you put in front of me, I'm bigger than that. And that can be good in some ways, but it can be really negative in other ways. So for me, how that reflected in my life is like in high school and in early college, reflected in this huge false confidence, and almost this face mask of narcissism, really, because, I'm thinking that I'm all these things, but if you look at what I'm thinking and like where my actions are, it doesn't line up. Right. And that's not uncommon to me. That's common to a lot of people in our family. And so
it takes learning that part, that realization itself is like almost relieving in a way.
It is. And it's been interesting trying to manage that because I came to this point of like really looking at what I've accomplished or what do my actions tell me I am, and I kind of lost all my confidence because I was like, dude, like, so it's a process of this was kind of the process of my coming to faith as well, as being humbled first and then building up a confidence on the bedrock of that faith and what really like where value really comes from.
Yes.
And that I would say would be the issue of the family because, that's something that I started with, some of my earliest memories are looking at, our uncles and our aunts and just being like, wow, like how cool are these people? And not really measuring why, because like we've talked about like when you were in the Air Force school, I've been thinking about that since you said it, is like, we don't steal, cheat, or lie or tolerate anybody amongst us who does. And, we have a lot of stealers, cheaters, and liars. Yeah. And we have a lot of good people in our family too. Yeah. I'm not trying to just talk about the bad. We're just talking about the bad now.
Yes.
But we have a lot of that going on, and it's, you're the chain breaker on that, right? So it's a schism between the nature and then like who God has called you out of that to be and to become.
Yeah, and it sounds like you started young with like the pride half of it, but then later the maturity aspect to understand how devastating that really actually is.
Yeah.
The pride aspect. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left.
Okay, cool.
And I want to cover a couple, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 7 minutes. So I want to cover a couple quick things. So what's the best thing about growing up in this family? And then after that, I'm going to ask you about a great family memory that you have.
Awesome.
But first of all, what's a great thing about growing up in the family?
That's an easy one to answer. And this actually kind of factors in with the negative too, but from my earliest growing up, there's nothing in this life that I believe I cannot accomplish. You and Mom have always enabled us to say, like, if you put your heart and mind to something, you will get there. There's nothing that you innately cannot do. Right. As a young guy, like if I had cared about going pro in a sport or going professional baseball player, I 100% believe I could have done that. Which who knows? But but I've always felt enabled to do anything, and cool. And I know where that came from.
I'm a huge believer in that. At some of the talks I do for various kid organizations and stuff, I always say, what little percent of our capability we actually use, right? What little percent of our brain, what little percent of everything. And I always say, don't think big, think huge, because it's always bigger than you think. I've always thought too small for God.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, what's a great family memory you have of something that me and you and your mom, brothers and sisters have all done? What's a great one?
Yeah.
One that sticks out. I know the one that sticks out to me. I'm going to go first because in case you were going to say this, I want to beat you to it.
Okay, yeah.
So we got baptized as a family in the Jordan River in Israel.
Yeah.
And remember all those little fish that were eating on our feet?
Yeah.
These little fish come in, and while you're sitting there in the water in the Jordan River, these little fish are coming in. They're like nibbling on your feet. I can almost feel it as I'm telling you. Yeah. And it was an incredible experience to be baptized in Israel and Jordan, and it was even a better experience to be baptized as a family. And then there are those offshoot memory things like that was just wow. Yeah. That for me was an incredible family experience. I still think back to.
That's awesome.
But there's many. I mean, there's hunting trips I can think of. There's Mexico trips I can think of. There's all kinds of things. Any particular family memories stick out to you?
There's a few hunting
constellation
trips.
Of them. You know, is there some group of things?
We've been so blessed to travel a lot. With you and Mom, that was very important to you guys that we saw the world. And so, there's a plethora of those trips that stick out. I would say our missions trip to Haiti is so solidified in my mind. I can think of, I don't know why, but it's like a movie. I can literally replay it from like day one all the way through and think of like these, I'm forgetting his name, but we had, that one guy that we
that kid
spoke like 5 different languages. Yes. Ben something or going out and painting those houses, right? And like catching the tarantulas as they're like the little kids showing us how to catch tarantulas, and even some funny stuff like when they they blew the condom up into a balloon and we're playing with it like it was, Yes. But that was a really, really cool trip because it opened my eyes to the level of blessing that we have, but also just humanity, right? Because the Haitian people were still smiling and still happy and still grateful that we were there.
Remember how they would play games with like the little round top with a stick?
Yeah.
And that was like, they made like toys out of nothing to entertain themselves.
Literally like the rim of a barrel, and they would go around hitting a stick and then just spin it all the way across the ground, running after it,
Sleeping under mosquito nets. And remember when Gage flipped backwards off that wall?
Oh my gosh.
Gage was sitting on a wall. It's about a 10 or 12 foot high concrete wall. I don't know what he was thinking, but he flipped off of it backwards. And I was certain that like it was going to be devastating. And I don't know how he just was protected, and he landed directly flat in a flower bed 12 feet down and was perfectly fine. Remember that? Yeah, a couple feet off a concrete ledge too. Remember that? Like it could have been his head on, it was bad. Yeah, it was bad. That was incredible. To this point in your life, if you could do anything different, what would you do? What would you change?
Live with more discipline, really. And I know that's kind of a broad answer, but
that's a good one.
But for the longest time, I just operated from a place of, do I want to do that, right? And growing up and becoming a man is doing what you have to do, not doing what you want to do. Now that I've graduated college, so it's starting to bite me a little bit.
You're a college graduate.
Yeah, right. And I kind of realized like how little I really prepared for the real world, but that's okay. It's fine. I'm getting there, and we're, so I'm not super stressed about it, but yeah, I wish I'd lived more from a place of enabling myself to do what I really want to do, because short-term temporary pleasure, you can want to do that, but also I want to go fly fishing in Alaska, right, and go hunt grizzlies in Canada and do all this cool stuff, and that takes work to get to. You just have to have the long vision, so you can do the boring stuff to get to that place, and the vision's getting longer, so I can appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, last question. I think I asked your brothers your brother and sister, Gage and Emerson, this question. So I got to give you fair opportunity. It was something like this, but maybe not exactly. But so, what do you like most, and what do you like least about your siblings?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, about Gage and Emerson. Tell us something about your interactions with your brother and your sister.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can start with Emerson because she's a lot like me. Emerson's brilliant. She can do anything she sets her mind to.
Oh yeah. You said a lot like you. You're saying you're brilliant.
Oh yeah, Gage can do it too. But she, she's so well organized. Emerson's just with her dance schedule early on. I think that helped her a lot. But extremely disciplined. Really good at just getting the little stuff out of the way. She does turn into a stress ball occasionally, which kind of wraps into part 2 is she can piss me off worse than anybody else on the planet can.
Like that, too, by the way.
Yeah, it literally could be a great day, and in 5 minutes, it's over.
Oh, God.
And she knows. She tries to piss me off.
And it hasn't ended yet, and you guys are in your 20s.
We're working on it. We've talked about it. We talked about it recently, actually. So who knows? We'll see an uptick there.
All right. What about Gage?
Gage, there's a lot of good things about Gage. He's a very... I would say the biggest positive about Gage that I wish I could pick up on is he's so even keel most of the time. He doesn't overthink things. He just puts his head down and gets it done. He just goes on with the next day, right? And I'm always like, well, you can't think like that. You got to know, right, what's next. And Gage just maintains that like level of homeostasis where, he's mostly unmesswithable. Like he's pretty chill. I would say on the flip side for Gage, it's the same thing. He really, sometimes he doesn't think too deeply about decisions. Sometimes that go with the flow bites him in the ass, but he's really growing up into a different person than I expected him to be. These last few years, it's been interesting as his older brother because he's like my best friend. I didn't expect him to do 2 years abroad. I didn't expect him to get, long distance girlfriend. I didn't expect a lot of that stuff. So he's really finding passion in areas that I wasn't thinking would be his direction. So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. That's real.
Yeah.
Well,
he can be a little bullheaded too, I guess.
Yeah. All of us. Our whole family can be bullheaded.
Yeah.
Well, that is our. I wanted to do just about 30 minutes together. That's what we've done.
Awesome.
This is the part 2 to, again, if you didn't see my talk with Gage and Emerson, please look at that as well. A little insight into our family and our life. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If there are any particular questions you have that you'd like us to do in the future, either as a family or maybe get my wife in here or just me answer, happy to do it. Love sharing with you guys. And thank you. Thank you for today. It's been an honor to be your dad.
Thanks, Pops.
I'm proud of you with your college degree, first kid college degree.
Finally.
Yes.
Let's go.
And looking forward to see what the next, however many years you're blessed with, have in store.
Me too.
Thanks for doing the interview on the cuff.
Thanks for having me on, Pops.
Love you.
Love you too.